Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Crusader Kings 2 After the End. And we are the Kingdom of Gran Francisco. And this will be the last episode of Gran Francisco, ladies and gentlemen, because I have a new computer sitting about 5 feet away from me that I'd very much like to set up, and I probably won't be able to get this version of the mod again and the save games, so I figure now is as good a time as any to call it an end. We are currently King Golden Gate of Gran Francisco. A lot of time has passed since the previous episode. It is now the 8th of December, 2875, and as you can see, Gran Francisco has grown by leaps and bounds. King Golden Gate is the king of Gran Francisco, the king of the Valley, and the king of Jefferson. We've taken over the prefecture of Death Valley, and we've even taken some land from SoCal, who is now the kingdom of New Russia. They attacked from the seas, conquered SoCal, but they are no match for the might of Gran Francisco. We've also taken substantial lands from the Kingdom of Idaho, and these people, Sagwa in Holy Wars, and it looks like our prefects are trying to take some additional land from them as well now that they are in a weakened state. We have most of the state of Oregon, all of Nevada, except for this little tip right here, all of California except for Southern California, and we even have this little sliver of Baja Sur down here. Now, Colima has grown to be quite a pain in the butt. They are a merchant republic, and they are very difficult. And our main goal for this campaign was to be able to form the empire. Well, not to form the empire, to usurp the empire of California, but now that it's gone, we'd want to form it. The problem is, we are not quite there yet. We need to control 80% of the de jure California duchies, and we currently only control 75. And if you look at the glowing yellow border there, we're well outside of it to the north, and so the only territories that we can conquer to gain additional counties is to the south. And we just won a war against New Russia, so it's 10 years before we can fight them again. And I'm not sure if we necessarily have any claims on Colima, Baja, or whatnot. So, because simply time has run out, I'm going to be calling it an end. But before we end this series, let's take a look at Gran Francisco and what we've been able to accomplish. So if you look here in the ledger, in terms of army strength, Gran Francisco is 4th in the world after the Brazilian Empire, which I presume is down in Brazil, the Redcoat Dominion, and the Holy Colombian Confederacy. And this is a problem that I have with this mod, because I truly believe that the outside invaders are way too powerful. I mean, the Brazilian Empire has almost 100,000 troops. After all the work I have put into Gran Francisco, almost completing the entire Empire of California, I only have 25,000. So to say that they have 4 times as many as I do, just coming up from Brazil, seems a little strange. Even stranger is the Redcoat Dominion. They have nearly 80,000 troops. And their dominion, as such, is just the Kingdom of New England. It's very small. And it just doesn't seem right. I understand that England was once powerful, historically, but they were powerful not because of their size, but because of their technological advantage over their neighbors and the people they were fighting against. This is not the case anymore. Assuming that this meteor that struck and caused the apocalypse happened everywhere equally, it doesn't stand to reason that while America is scrabbling around in tribal and feudal kingdoms, that Britain is somehow able to amass 100,000 men and send them over the Atlantic Ocean, foregoing all modern navigational aids, to conquer New England. I guess it adds some drama and interestingness to the campaign, but if I were playing as New England and I got attacked by this, I'd be pissed. It just doesn't seem right. But regardless, we are the 4th most powerful in terms of army. In terms of realm size, we are the 2nd. We're a far way away from the Holy Colombian Confederacy. Even if we were able to put California back together, we'd still be pretty far away. We're about 150, 160 provinces away from their size, but that's okay. Second place is good. The next after us is the Caribbean Empire, and they're a good 100 below us. So, you know. In terms of overall score, we are 4th in the world at 27,000, although we're nowhere near the top, which is the papacy at 71,000. In terms of piety, we are not even in the top 20. We're way down there in piety, and that's okay. We managed to conquer 4 of the 5 holy sites of the Cetic faith. The 5th site is down in Chula Vista, down in San Diego, and is currently being run by New Russia, who, by the way, is Cetic, but I guess it doesn't count unless it's my particular kingdom that controls it. In terms of prestige, we are nowhere near the top either, because this particular person only has 112 prestige, and it doesn't matter the prestige of your dynasty or what you've accomplished as a player. It matters your prestige of the specific person that you are. And finally, in terms of gold, we are somewhere. Here we are. We're like 10 or so. Although this seems to be a little unreasonable in that this place here, Kiamichi, has 11 million gold. And they only have a realm size of 3. So how on earth they were able to amass that much gold seems to me to be a bug in the game itself. It doesn't seem to be something legitimate, because they have 0 score, they have a very tiny army, and yet they somehow amassed this much gold. If I knew where they were, I'd sail and conquer them right now. New York and Boonslick. No, it's Boonslick. They, I presume, have earned their gold the old-fashioned way, because it seems reasonable enough, even though it's quite good. So that's where we stand. Gran Francisco is one of the premier powers of the United States, second only to the Grand Colombian Confederacy. Although, if we get in a tangle with the Redcoat Dominion of the Brazilian Empire, it's probably going to hurt. But let's talk a little bit about the dynasty. The Aurelius dynasty. House Aurelius. So as we know, it all started with King Marcus the Shrewd. And because at that time the kingdom was based on ultimogeniture, he was succeeded by his youngest son, King Baypoint, who, because he was so young, was known as King Baypoint the Young. However, then things were switched over to primogeniture, and so his oldest son, King Haight-Ashbury, was the next king. King Haight-Ashbury had a daughter, and her name was Queen Marina, and she was queen for a while as well. She had a daughter, Emerald, who was her heir, and would have been queen, except that Emerald passed away, and the queenship fell to Emerald's daughter, Queen Teresa of Gran Francisco. Now, Queen Teresa did not rule for very long, and she was soon replaced by Queen Twin Peaks the Just. Now, Queen Twin Peaks was incredibly long-lived and probably ruled Gran Francisco for like 50 years, but she had a severe handicap in that she was hunchbacked, and so the vast majority of her vassals were constantly trying to usurp her throne due to the negative 30 opinion malus for being a hunchback. And of course, the fact that she was a woman, and her heir, Ocean View Aurelius, was a woman as well. However, unfortunately, Ocean View, who is an amazing, amazing character, she had firearms, she had 3 different old world artifacts, she was a Midas touched, I believe. Might have been wrong. But she unfortunately died of illness, but not before she had a son, who is our current king, King Golden Gate. And King Golden Gate is actually pretty good. He also has a son, Prince Seacliff, who hopefully will survive to maturity as well. His sister Ocean View, his half-sister anyway, she is unfortunately in jail somewhere. That's a shame. So the Aurelius dynasty has a total number of 236 members, of which 104 are currently living. and a total dynasty prestige of 1,091, which includes 26 held baronies, 93 held counties, 30 held duchies, and 15 held kingdoms? That can't be right. I think that means over the course of history. So like Gran Francisco counts as a kingdom for each ruler, and so on and so forth. So that is the Aurelius dynasty, and of course, I could expand them all out, but it would be far more than this page can hold. There are a lot of Aurelii. So anywho, moving out of that. Let's take a look at the US. Look at Lakota. Despite the fact that they didn't show up on any of the ledger rankings, they are humongous. Manitoba's doing okay. Platte and Comancheria are doing really well. Texan Empire is hanging in there. Colima, as I mentioned, was strong, as along with the Sierra Madre. This green down here must be Brazilian Empire, and they're fighting the Caribbean Empire and Mexico. The Confederacy managed to weather the storm of its rebellions and is still as strong, if not stronger, than when it started. Obviously stronger because it now includes Florida and most of the Americanist possessions. The Redcoat Dominion has actually grown in size. It used to just be New England, and now it also contains New York, except for Long Island, it looks like. Although Hudsonia seems to be checking them to the west, and the Maritimes are hanging in to the east. The Ursulines have completely split up into millions of different things. The papacy's still there along with Iowa. I was looking forward to getting into some Holy Wars versus the Mormons, but Idaho unfortunately jumped in and took away our border with them. Idaho used to be ridiculously strong, but after I beat up on them, they weakened substantially, and I believe they're kind of just hanging on. And that's that. So this is the extent of Gran Francisco. You've got this giant chunk here. You've got this little chunk down here, and you've got Las Vegas. Woohoo! Viva Las Vegas! So, there you have it. The Kingdom of Gran Francisco, 5% away from reforming the Celestial Empire of California. And I really wish I could have done that in this series, but this series is already going pretty long. The game does get a little buggy, I've noticed, at this stage, because there's just so much going on. And as I mentioned, I would like to put together my new computer. So once again, I'm Marcus Aurelius. I'd like to take a special moment to thank those of you who have watched this series from start to finish. I had so much fun in this series, so much so that had I not had to replace my computer, I would most likely have carried this out and reformed the Celestial Empire. I probably would have gone past 50 episodes. But unfortunately, it was not one of my most popular series, so for those of you who did enjoy it and have been watching it, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for going on this journey with me. It was a lot of fun. Gran Francisco rose like the phoenix from the ashes to a little kingdom of, I think it was 3 prefectures, to this gigantic monstrosity that we see before us. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marcus Aurelius. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.